Thank you all again for joining us tonight as we present the 2023 North Carolina Awards. I want to thank our sponsors this evening. This event would not have been possible without the generous support of numerous sponsors, and they are Martin Marietta, Duke Energy, RTI, O'Reilly Auto Parts, ACN Incorporated, the CBC WRAL Community Fund of the Triangle Community Foundation, Dr. William Roper, the Charlotte Hornets, the National Basketball Association, the North Carolina Literary and Historical Association, and a special thank you to Lenovo, sponsor of our Teachers of the Year. My mother was a teacher, I understand. And Wells Fargo, our signature sponsor of our Principals of the Year. To all of you sponsors, thank you so much for your generous support of this event. I'd also, again, like to thank our North Carolina Museum of Art for hosting us here tonight in this incredible spot. And I don't want anyone to leave their seats at this point, but you may not know that this art museum now, for the first time, has a Picasso. Do not go looking for it, but it is true, and it is phenomenal. So you'll have to come back and find it. So this wonderful museum is part of our Department of Natural and Cultural Resources, which also includes all sorts of things people love about our state. State parks, aquariums, history and science museums, the African American Heritage Commission, the American Indian Heritage Commission, historic sites, the symphony, the zoo, state archives, the state library, historic preservation, and more. We're a busy group, but it's just wonderful work to connect with North Carolinians in so many ways. And now it is my great pleasure to introduce someone I've known since, I don't know, the first week we moved to North Carolina more than 20 years ago. Longtime friend, Nina Schlossberg-Landis. She is the chair of the 2023 North Carolina Awards Committee. So come on up. I'll get out of your way. Gotcha.
I'm old. Thank you. Thank you, Secretary Wilson. And I just want to thank you and your team for all the incredible work that you do to protect our natural resources and our cultural resources. You just do a magnificent job. I also want to take a moment to thank our governor. Governor, you have led us through some of the most challenging times in our history, and you've done it with grace, with strength, and with wisdom, and we are all so grateful to you for your leadership. Now, let's get on with the awards. The North Carolina Awards were created by the North Carolina General Assembly in 1961 and have been presented annually since 1964. The awards recognize significant contributions to the state and nation in the fields of fine arts, literature, public service, and science. Each year, the awards are a chance for us to honor those who reflect the very best in innovation, creativity, artistic endeavors, and humanitarian service. The process for selecting these 6 outstanding North Carolinians is incredibly gratifying, not only because of the accomplishments of our recipients, but because of the hard work of the members of the committee with whom I've had the pleasure of serving. James Ferguson, Patricia Malden, Joy Cohen-Shavitz, and Ashley Leffler-Wilson. Will the members of the committees who are with us tonight please stand up so we can recognize you? Finally, just a note of personal privilege. We are here at a time where it feels that we are being bombarded with news about all the bad things that are happening in our world, war and protests and political division and unrest. And sometimes it just feels like the world is all upside down. Tonight, we have the extraordinary opportunity to focus on what is going right. The creative, the honorable, the talented people of North Carolina. So I hope we can all take refuge together in this extraordinary night. I hope you enjoy the presentation.
It is my honor to serve as a member of Governor Roy Cooper's cabinet. And Governor Cooper often says that he wants a North Carolina where people are better educated, healthier, and have more money in their pockets so they can live a more abundant and purposeful life. And during his many years of distinguished public service to our state, he has consistently demonstrated his commitment to delivering on that promise to all North Carolinians. So it is my very great pleasure to introduce to you the Honorable Governor of North Carolina, Roy Cooper.
Thank you. What a great night this has already been, and it's going to be. First thing I want to do tonight is introduce to you my spouse, my partner, my friend, who just, by the way, finished her 100-county tour of the state of North Carolina. She's so passionate about our state and particularly about the arts. And I want to celebrate her tonight, First Lady of North Carolina, Krista Cooper. Thanks, Secretary Wilson, for your great leadership. And before I begin the award ceremony, it's my pleasure to recognize our state teachers of the year and principals of the year. There are 9 regional principals of the year with us tonight. I'd like to call their names out and ask that they stand and be recognized. And although I know it will be very hard, it's even hard for me, I would ask that you hold your applause until they are all standing. John Lassiter, the Northeast Region Principal of the Year from Paquemmons County Schools. Ashley Falconberry, Southeast Region Principal of the Year, Craven County Schools. Dr. William Logan, North Central Region Principal of the Year, Durham Public Schools. Jim Butler, Sandhills Region Principal of the Year, Richmond County Schools. Donna Bledsoe, Wells Fargo, North Carolina Principal of the Year, Piedmont Triad Region. Tanya Williams, Southwest Region Principal of the Year, Cabarrus County Schools. Jesse Gravel, Northwest Region Principal of the Year, Burke County Schools. Rafika Cobb, Western Regional Principal of the Year, Asheville City Schools. TJ Worrell, Charter Schools Principal of the Year, Northeast Academy for Aerospace and Advanced Technologies, Elizabeth City. Let's give these great education leaders a big hand. There are 8 regional teachers of the year in attendance tonight, and I love our principals, but our teachers are my favorite. And I'm sorry, guys, but my mom was the greatest public school teacher in the history of the state of North Carolina. But as I call their names, I would ask that they stand and be recognized. And again, if you can please hold your applause until they're all standing. Casey Lewis Schulte, Northeast Region Teacher of the Year, Beaufort County Schools. Laura Wilson, Southeast Region Teacher of the Year, Craven County Schools. Kimberly S. Jones, Burroughs Welcome Fund NC Teacher of the Year, North Central Region Teacher of the Year, Chapel Hill Carrboro City Schools. Tina McCurry Robinson, Sandhills Region Teacher of the Year, Richmond County Schools. Tiffany Michelle Wynn, Piedmont Triad Region Teacher of the Year, Thomasville City Schools. Rachel Fry, Southwest Region Teacher of the Year, Lincoln County Schools. Shay Bullock, Northwest Region Teacher of the Year, Caldwell County Schools. Rachel Ray, Western Region Teacher of the Year, Madison County Schools. Ryan M. Henderson, Charter Schools Teacher of the Year, Sugar Creek Charter from Charlotte. Let's give these great teachers a hand. My respect and admiration for our educators is boundless, endless, and we need to pay you a lot more money. On behalf of our state, I'm grateful for your dedication, your compassion, your creativity, and your commitment to our children. We are proud to honor all of these great North Carolina educators tonight, and that's why we wanted to include them in tonight's celebration. Let's give all of these educators one more hand. Now for the business at hand. The North Carolina Award is our highest civilian honor, and I'm proud to present it tonight to 6 extraordinary people. Over the years, we've honored artists, poets, writers, musicians, journalists, scientists, and public servants with this award to recognize their work and contributions to our great state. Tonight, we add 6 more remarkable North Carolinians to that list. A dedicated attorney, judge, member of Congress, who's left an indelible mark on the state and our country. A tireless public servant and physician who cared for all of North Carolinians throughout the COVID pandemic. An internationally recognized sculptor whose work reflects North Carolina's natural beauty. An educator and member of Congress who dedicated his life and career to serving the people of North Carolina. A skilled poet who has worked tirelessly to lift up her fellow North Carolina writers. And a sports executive who uses his position and platform to help North Carolina's disadvantaged youth. And now, our first recipient. Our first award winner was born and raised in the heart of Wilson, North Carolina, where his family roots played a pivotal role in shaping his path to public service. His father was Eastern North Carolina's first black elected official, and his mother, a dedicated school teacher. They instilled in him the values of education and community. After earning a law degree from North Carolina Central University, he established a law practice in Wilson, gaining recognition for his involvements in several civil rights cases. He went on to serve as a resident Superior Court judge and then as Associate Justice of the North Carolina Supreme Court. In 2004, he embraced a new chapter in public service, winning a decisive victory in the special election for the United States House of Representatives. His 18-year congressional career saw him become the chairman of the Congressional Black Caucus and tirelessly represent the people of North Carolina's 1st District, advocating for quality health care, agriculture, rural broadband expansion, and renewable energy. And from my own personal experiences, I know firsthand he's always been there when everyday North Carolinians needed him. And now, in his own words, G.K. Butterfield.
The first thing we need to do is to be transparent about America's history. One great thing about America is that she is able to repair her faults. Well, I was born in 1947 Wilson was like all other southern cities in 1947. It was totally segregated. Separate but equal was supposed to be the law of the land. Jim Crow was rampant. The schools were separate. We had separate elementary and high school students for the races. The lunch counters at the 5 and 10 stores in downtown Wilson were all white. And so that's the community that I grew up in. It was a way of life. It was something that African Americans were expected to accept. I did not accept it, my parents did not accept it, and each of us in our own way tried to do something about it. My dad was Dr. G.K. Butterfield. My dad was a dentist. He founded the local branch of the NAACP, and the organization was about the business of convincing African Americans to at least attempt to register to vote. And so I very quickly understood that law and politics are correlated. That is one of the reasons I went to law school, and that is the reason why I returned to my home community upon graduating from law school, because I wanted to get engaged in the community. I wanted to challenge the election system that had defeated my father in 1957 and denied the African American community representation. All of these experiences over the years that I have witnessed have had a profound impact on me, the way I think, the way I behave, the way I act and react. And I'm just so delighted to be a Tar Heel. This is my home. This is where it all started. But hopefully we're going to continue to build North Carolina and make it even greater.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the recipient of the 2023 North Carolina Award for Public Service, G.K. Butterfield.
You may be seated. And they told me to be brief, and I certainly will. David Price and I have been back-to-back so many times in programs like this, and we know the importance of keeping it on schedule. But let me begin by thanking you, Governor Cooper and Secretary Wilson, for your extraordinary leadership. You know, as I was sitting there a moment ago, I was thinking, I've seen a few governors in my lifetime. I've known several of them, but I will say that this governor, our governor, Roy Cooper, has made North Carolina proud. Thank you so very much, Governor. Let me very quickly recognize my family and friends who are with me tonight, starting with my beloved wife, Dr. Sylvia Butterfield, who is a senior executive with the National Science Foundation in Washington, who sacrificed a trip to Brussels, Belgium, to be here with me tonight. Thank you. One of my three daughters, Tanya Butterfield Smith, is here along with her husband, Chris. Thank both of you for coming. Tanya lives here in Raleigh and is the Civil Rights Chief at the North Carolina Department of Transportation. Over there is my cousin, Diane Myers, and her husband, Bill Myers, and you saw the Freeman Roundhouse Museum on the video a moment ago. That was their brainchild. Thank you, Diane and Bill, and their daughter, Michelle. Thank you so much for coming. And to my former law partner and my number 2 best friend, Judge Jim Wynn, and his wife, Jacqueline Wynn. Now, some of you are laughing, and some of you know why I said that, because my number 1 best friend is none other than Toby Fitch, who sends his best regards tonight. My former district director, Reginald Spade, who is seated right here, who by presidential appointment is North Carolina State Director for USDA Rural Development. And over there at another table somewhere is one of my platinum clients. I'm now with McGuire Woods, Joshua Malcolm, who is CEO of Lumbee Tribe Holdings. And finally, a few of my colleagues from McGuire Woods are here tonight, and they are seated at a table right next to my table. I received this recognition tonight in honor of my wonderful parents, and you saw a snippet of them on the video just a moment ago. But my parents, like your parents, Governor, who served this state for many years. I knew Governor Cooper's, both of his parents knew him very well. Father was a lawyer in Nash County, and mother was a classroom teacher in Nash County as well. In 1919, Mom graduated from the Wilson Colored Graded School with a 6th grade diploma. No secondary schools were available. If parents had connections, then their children were sent to HBCUs for high school education. And so Mom attended high school at Shaw University here in Raleigh and then returned back home to teach. Now, my father's story is different. Dad immigrated from Bermuda seeking opportunity. The year was 1918. When he couldn't find a job, he volunteered as a non-citizen for World War I. After leaving France, Dad found his way back to Raleigh to Shaw, wanting an education. He applied for high school, but Shaw rewarded him as a veteran by placing him in the college program. There he met my mother. 4 years later, Dad graduated and went to dental school. Now here's where it gets interesting, and I'm going to do this very quickly. Here's where it gets interesting. In 1928, Dad returned to North Carolina to establish his dental practice and marry my mother. Upon arriving in Wilson, the white political establishment approached my father, welcomed him to the community, and mentioned quietly that he had married a fine young lady who might be their relative. He was told, some of you get that, he was told that a favor would be bestowed upon him. He would be allowed to register to vote, and he did. Weeks later, Dad encouraged his patients to become registered voters. Upon learning of his efforts, Dr. Butterfield was ordered by the political establishment to stop, and he did. Years later, following World War II, Dad returned to the business of voter registration. Our hometown was divided into city council districts. Dad volunteered in District 3 to teach the literacy test and encourage Black citizens to register to vote, and they did. So much so that there became an equal number of Black and white voters in District 3. And so in 1953, Dad ran for District 3 seat. You saw it on the video. The vote was 382 to 382. It was a tie vote. And so both names were placed in a hat. A child was summoned to pick a name, and it was my father. 2 years later, Dad was reelected, and a gracious mayor appointed him as the chairman of the Finance Committee. Well, 2 years later, while my family was traveling, the council called an emergency meeting and changed the method of elections from districts to at large and required full slate voting. And so, as you can imagine, he lost. 2 years later, the NAACP challenged, and the case went to the North Carolina Supreme Court and the U.S. Supreme Court. It was unsuccessful. The year was 1962. At that moment, I was 15 years old and mature enough to understand the intersection between election law and politics. I decided then that I would become a lawyer, go into politics, and try to make democracy available to all citizens regardless of their race. And so, Governor, I've clocked 12 years as a lawyer, 15 years as a judge, 18 years in Congress. These years have given me privileges beyond my wildest imagination. And so I'm grateful. I'm truly grateful for this honor. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. In 2017, I made a smart decision to hire this accomplished young physician as Secretary of the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services. And in early 2020, all of our lives were completely upended by the pandemic, an unprecedented global crisis. Here in North Carolina, our next award recipient used data, facts, compassion, wisdom, and humanity to help guide us through that crisis. She and our team became laser-focused on leading North Carolina's operational response to the pandemic, collecting and analyzing key data points that would guide our decision-making, keeping equity at the forefront, and helping to keep North Carolinians safer and healthier. Along with her pandemic leadership, she worked to transform North Carolina's Medicaid program, advocated for Medicaid expansion, and helped launch the country's first statewide coordinated care program, NC Care 360. Today, she's focused on improving the health of all Americans in her new role as director of the CDC. And now, in her own words, Mandy Cohen.
My mom is a nurse practitioner, and she was a nurse practitioner in an emergency room. And I think that was significant because that was where often you see all the broken parts of our health system, or frankly, lack of a health system. And I remember thinking about telling folks, oh, I was thinking about going to medicine, and there were a lot of actual folks who waved me off. Oh, medicine's broken, healthcare's broken. But for me, that actually motivated me more to think about, well, okay, well, maybe if I get into this, I can think about how to make it better.
COVID-19 is highly contagious, and unfortunately, it's disproportionately affecting, like I said, the Latinx and Hispanic individuals and communities in North Carolina.
Leading the COVID response for North Carolina was life-changing. Early months of the COVID crisis were the most weighty, challenging, hard things that I've ever done before. And that's not because we worked a lot of hours, which we did, but it was the weight of the intensity of the hard decisions that we had to make. We asked everyone to change their lives completely, to stay home, to not see loved ones, to close businesses that they had given their life's work to. I mean, just things I couldn't have imagined asking folks to do in service of trying to keep everyone protected. I think we protected folks. I think we got them through a hard time by being transparent, by building trust with folks. I think I will forever be associated with the 3 W's and wear, wait, and wash. But I think it was bigger than that. What I think is we charted a vision for North Carolina about how can North Carolina be healthy. That is what I hope folks will remember of what we started under my tenure at the department is driving towards health in a unified way. But if I'm the 3 W's lady, I'm really proud of that contribution as well.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the recipient of the 2023 North Carolina Award for Science, Dr. Mandy Cohen.
Well, hi everyone. I'm so honored to be standing before you tonight. Most of my remarks are going to be thank yous because this, our ability to respond to this historic event here in the world was really a team effort. But I have a piece of business to do for the CDC first. Please get your COVID shot and your updated flu vaccine. Thank you. Make sure you can order your free test from covidtest.gov. Sorry, on brand. Okay, moving on from that business. So most is thank yous here. And as you heard in the video, some of the most challenging things I've done. But I am so grateful, Governor, to you first for taking a chance on for me, I was not from North Carolina, though I'm a North Carolinian now. That's right. But I wasn't from North Carolina, and I was so grateful that you took a chance to have me join your cabinet and then to learn from you as we led through some of the most challenging times. I've said this before, but to say to this audience, the governor is the best listener, and that I have ever worked for, and you rarely hear that of politicians. And that special quality makes him one of the most unique and important leaders that we have in this country. So I am grateful to have learned from him every day. That listening allowed us to take in so much of what was going on and all of the challenges and try to synthesize that to the best decisions we possibly could make for North Carolina. And I was so grateful that the governor also trusted me to share the stage with him. Also unique in this country, where we saw lots of governors who took the stage alone, but not our governor. And I was so grateful that he shared the stage with me, with the data and the science to lead this state. It was really remarkable. Now on to some other thank yous. As I said, this was such a hard time personally, and I have a lot of folks here who supported me and our family through this. So I have a table of our family. We didn't have family here in North Carolina, but we built family here. And I look at that table over there, and I thank you guys so much for being our family here in North Carolina. So thank you. And then to my family who is here, my mom and my dad are here. You saw the pictures early on. My mom, such an inspiration. I can't look. Okay. To my career, and my father, who from the very first day said, "You can do anything," and I believed him. To my daughters, who are 9 and 11, Sophie and Evelyn, "You can do anything, and I love you, and I'm so, so proud of you." And to my husband, my partner, my friend, the love of my life, thank you for letting me be me. It's an honor to walk through life with you, and I'm so grateful. Thank you, everyone, for this amazing honor.
Thank you, Mandy. Growing up in Southern Pines, our next award recipient found inspiration in the dogwood groves and the natural beauty of his surroundings. Later, those memories would inspire him to combine his love of nature with his carpentry skills to create unique works of art using tree saplings as construction materials. In 1982, his first work, Maple Body Wrap, was included in the North Carolina Biennial Artists Exhibit, which was sponsored by the North Carolina Museum of Art. Today, his art is on permanent display here at the museum, and in fact, if you look around right behind you there, you'll see one of his permanent works on display called Out of the Box, commissioned in 2009. Although his career began with smaller pieces, his work quickly evolved to large-scale environmental works requiring saplings by the truckloads. Over the past 40 years, he has built more than 330 pieces all over the world, from Scotland to Japan to Belgium, and here at the Art Museum Park. The lifespan of most of his work is ephemeral, most lasting only a few years until they succumb to the environment. But if you've ever seen one, walked around it, and inside of it, it's an experience you'll never forget. And now, in his own words, Pat Dougherty.
One of the things about being an artist is being able to open your mind and to imagine things. You always start out by trying to entertain yourself, and then you extend that to hoping that you can capture the public's imagination. I grew up in Southern Pines. I guess I got there when I was in about the second grade. Of course, we wrangled a lot of sticks as children, and kids know everything about sticks. They're a weapon, a tool, a piece of a wall, and so I got some initial introductions to the material that I eventually used. Being able to run around in the natural world and, play in the woods next to our house, it just made a real impact. But I saw the immediate utility of trying to use these things not just as objects that came from the woods, but with lines with which to draw. So I like to make something that doesn't look man-made and tends to sweep around and has the potential of swooping through windows. You could take the window out and have it half outside, half inside. You can go from a building up into trees. You can work in the top of trees. So there's just a lot of potential with this material to conglomerate it and to make visual excitement. I could have moved to New York. I could have moved to Washington, D.C. or L.A. and done my work there, but I love being rooted here. I started out here. I built a house here. I've been able to come back and enjoy the respite of living in the Triangle. It's a very exciting community. There's something going on all the time. And, it's full of really credible artists. So for me, this has been an unbelievable place to live. And North Carolina has been a nurturing state. And I think it's nurtured the arts and it nurtured me.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the recipient of the 2023 North Carolina Award for Fine Arts, Patrick Gardner.
Thank you all very much. My work as a sculptor has been full of objects like the one you see here in the museum. It's also full of cultural exchange. So I thought I'd tell you a story about one such exchange. I was working in Austria along the Slovenian border. There was a valley that had about 15 castles. So I was working in castle number 1. Somebody had the idea that if they had an artist come and work in each of the castle yards, there'd be a lot more tourists. Well, I'm working in number 1, and I hear that the Liechtensteins live in castle number 15. Now, one of the brothers is married to a Hungarian princess, and another one is married to a Dutch princess, and so I waited patiently to get invited to dinner. One day, the invitation came, and as I'm driving down to castle number 15, I'm thinking about maybe dining at a table that is so long that you can't see the end of it, and that the servants would be bringing these big platters of food, and we would be so happy. So I get there, and they meet me in the yard, the family does, and they take me around in the backyard. And they have an American cookbook. They bought a Weber grill. They've been to the butcher. They have, mustard and ketchup and pickles, and somebody's cut up some onions. They get to work, and after a little while, I'm standing there in the shadow of this big castle. I have royalty surrounding me. They give me the food. I take a big bite, and I said, I can't believe this. This is a real American hamburger. We eat these in North Carolina. So, an artist doesn't succeed on his own, and I would just like to mention the folks at my table. My wife, Linda, who's the chief curator here, but she put me in a show when she was working in Washington, D.C. at the Phillips Collection. We fell in love, and we've had a wonderful life. Secondly, I'd mention my son, Sam, because he's helped me for the last 7 years. He's very stalwart. When we worked in Dallas-Fort Worth not long ago, the temperature was 80 degrees one day and 0 degrees the next, and he just keeps on working. Now, I called him my retirement plan, but I thought that when we got working together that I would do half the work and he would do half the work. But what happened was we just started working together so well that we made bigger and better things for the last 7 years. I see my friend Romy Throckmorton over there. He's a real gentleman. He's a Southern gentleman. He's got charm. And when we worked at the museum in Washington, D.C., we came head-to-head with some installers over at the Museum of American Art, and Romy went and had a talk with them, and it wasn't long before our project was underway. He's a real gentleman. My friend Elsa Hoffman, who is strong, and she is fearless, and she'll climb to the highest heights. She's worked on a lot of my projects, particularly one in front of the museum over in Chapel Hill. And we needed to put a ram's head on these big figures we were working on, so we call her up, and she comes over, and she works her magic on it. My daughter, Eileen, and her husband, Matt, and now the way they've helped me has been because they have a great sense of humor. And when you get into a bit of a trouble or you're feeling down, you can just call them up for a really good story. My friends, George and Angela, they've been my way station many times. When I first started working, I was working at Phillips Collection, I worked at Smithsonian, I worked all up and down the East Coast, and they had a house in Washington, D.C., and so they would let me park my trailer load of sticks, which was a very large one, in front of their house, even though the neighbors complained, and they would give me a good bed to sleep in, and they've been my friends. Let's see, who did I forget? Dorothy Julien Banks. She has been the heart of my operation. For 15 years, she's been a good friend before that, but she answers the phone, she can write grants, she can do contracts, she can edit. Mainly, everybody that every organization I work with, they say, do you think Dorothy would come and work for us? And the thing I like about her is that when she would talk to an organization about where the artist should stay, she would say, well, have you been over to see it? If you haven't been over to see wherever he's going to stay, and you wouldn't stay there, don't put the artist there. And finally, I would say Larry Wheeler and Don Donsky, they have looked after me all these years. I was in a show here early on. Larry was very enthusiastic about me putting this piece in the museum when he got this new building going. And the last piece of work I've done is in their front yard. So if you know them, you can go by and take a look at it. So what I would like to do really is to also thank all of the organizations in North Carolina that have really helped me and helped me become the artist that I am. There was Penland, there's the museum, there's the North Carolina Arts Council. They've helped a lot of artists, and they really gave me a foot up. There's all the universities here that I've worked with, many of them, many of the art departments, and many gardens here in North Carolina, and every one of those organizations I learned something, and it was really a wonderful experience. The second thing is, I've always believed in that a good sculpture has reciprocity, that somehow that there's got to be a conversation between the makers and the viewer. And I've never had any fences up. People could come up and talk to me at any time while I was working. And so I would really like to thank all of the thousands of people that have come out to assist me in making these pieces, because when I'm on site, I actually get volunteers to come and work on the thing. It seems unlikely, but we do a fantastic job, and we've made a lot of great work. And finally, to say something to all the viewers in North Carolina and around the world that have come up and had those conversations with me. And I have really grown, and my art has grown and matured through conversations with the viewer. Governor, thank you very much. Secretary, I really appreciate it, and to the board that chose me. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Our next award winner is a skilled poet and storyteller who spent most of her career using her gifts to serve, connect, and promote North Carolina's literary community. Born and raised in Ohio, She came to North Carolina in 1961, where she took a job teaching first grade at George Watts Elementary School in Durham. As a teacher, she strove to pass on to the students her love of reading and writing. In the mid-1980s, she was part of an effort to start a statewide literary service organization that would provide support to working writers in our state. As a charter member and executive director of the North Carolina Writers Network, she helped to create a standard for excellence at the fledgling organization, worked diligently to include technical writers as well as writers of color, developed a unique program, and launched a writing program for prison inmates. Due largely to her efforts, the North Carolina Writers Network is now the largest such program in the country. For more than 30 years, she directed the Paul Green Foundation, which makes grants to assist arts and social justice organizations. In that capacity, she helped lead the foundation to establish what would become North Carolina Freedom Park, a public space in downtown Raleigh designed to honor the African American struggle for freedom. After 20 years of work, I had the honor of speaking at the opening of that park just a few months ago. She's worked closely with many North Carolina literary and service organizations to ensure that all voices are heard in our state. And now, in her own words, Marsha White Warren.
When we came to North Carolina, it was sort of coming home. We've been here for 62 years. We came down for David to go to law school at Duke, and we never left. The way I got into literature, my mother died, and that's the answer to it all. I was just devastated. She was up in Ohio, and something made me want to write about it, but I couldn't write about her. So I wrote about other things, and then lo and behold, in the newspaper, in the Chapel Hill Weekly, there was a teeny little announcement that said the Friday Noon Poets are meeting at the Red Baron restaurant in Carrboro. And I got my courage up and went down there to Carrboro and met all these people, and we started reading poems and gave each other encouragement, and I became completely involved with the North Carolina Poetry Society and became a member. And then in 1985, a group started the North Carolina Writers Network. And for 5 years, I was the director of both the Writers Network and the Paul Green Foundation. It was located out at White Cross School, a beautiful old, I think 1928 schoolhouse out on Route 54 out of town. So there were all sorts of opportunities for writers across the state. Where can you send your work? Where can you go to hear a reading? And all sorts of opportunities. So we felt like we were a big umbrella organization supporting the whole state. It's meant a great deal to me to be able to be in a field where I'm working with adults in arts administration, with writers, who are the most interesting people of all.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the recipient of the 2023 North Carolina Award for Literature, Marsha White Warren.
Thank you, Governor Cooper, Secretary Wilson, the Arts Committee, Nina, and Georgianne Eubanks, Georgianne Eubanks, who nominated me for this award, and thank you so much, and all the people who wrote letters of support. This is such a privilege to talk about North Carolina's remarkable literary legacy, beginning in earnest when Jonathan Daniels declared that the Southern literary renaissance was launched when James Boyd, a famous historical novelist in Southern Pines in the 20s and 30s, invited writers from around the world to come to his home and to talk about writing. Among the many were England's Nobel laureate, John Galsworthy, Thomas Wolfe, William Faulkner, F. Scott Fitzgerald, and Boyd's best friend, Paul Green. My literary journey began in 1978 when I saw a tiny announcement in the Chapel Hill Weekly. It said the Friday Noon Poets would meet as usual on Friday at the Red Baron restaurant in Carrboro. I had never been a writer, but my mother had died that fall, and I had begun writing down my feelings. What an amazing coincidence. Through that group, each Friday, I came to know writers from all over the state, joined the North Carolina Poetry Society, joined the brand new North Carolina Writers Network, and in 1987, my youngest child was going off to college, and I said, I think I'll go back and teach first grade. I called our elementary school, and they didn't have an opening for me. Then another amazing coincidence. Margaret Bedour, a friend from Goldsboro I'd met at the Red Baron restaurant in Carrboro, came to my house and told me that she had been charged by the network board to ask me to be the new director. There we were around my kitchen table, and I can see it now. Margaret is telling me what the job would be. They didn't have any money to pay for me, but they were sure I could work it out. There she is writing all this stuff on a yellow pad, and then somehow, what a puzzle, I signed my name to a contract to say that I would do it. And of course, you know what happened the next week. I got a call from the school to say they had a first grade for me. But I had signed my name in front of Margaret. It would change my life. And I would be an arts administrator for the North Carolina Writers Network and the Paul Green Foundation for the next 34 years. In those early network years, we received support from the North Carolina Arts Council's remarkable director, Mary Regan, who's here tonight, and her deputy, Nancy Trevelyan. And at that time, Jean McLaughlin was the visual/literature director. Well, we didn't want that. We wanted our own director without a slash. And we went to Mary, and before long, she hired Debbie McGill, who's also here tonight. And Debbie set out all over the state, encouraging the literary arts. I'd like to end by remembering some dear departed friends who were champions of the literary arts. In North Carolina, Sam Reagan, our first Secretary of Cultural Resources, and the Poet Laureate from 1982 until his death in 1996. And in very recent years, Betty Ray McCain, the former Secretary of Cultural Resources, and very recently, her deputy, Betsy Buford. Thank you sincerely for this opportunity to celebrate literature with all of you, my husband, my children, my grandchildren, and I'm going to tell you that my son, my daughter-in-law, 3 grandchildren are all sitting over here, and I'm sorry to be missing my son who lives in Knoxville and his family. Thank you very much for this honor.
Our next award winner is the ultimate team player, an all-conference college basketball player. His career in sports began in 1992 as an agent representing professional athletes. He went on to serve as director of player development for Nike basketball. held positions with the Washington Wizards, and managed sports marketing strategy for Jordan Brand. In 2006, he became president and chief operating officer of what was then Bobcat Sports, becoming the only black chief operating officer in the NBA. He was a good teammate for me after I became governor, as he helped me leverage the business community to get the legislature to repeal House Bill 2, the bathroom bill that was hurting people as well as the economy of our state. Now serving as president and vice chairman of the Charlotte Hornets, he has at various times been a player, coach, agent, sports marketer, and administrator. Those experiences have taught him the value of having teammates in your corner. The teammates of his youth inspired him to found Hoop Tea Charities, a nonprofit that provides scholarships for disadvantaged youngsters to attend athletic and educational camps across the country, and Achievements Unlimited Basketball School, which has served more than 15,000 kids in Greensboro and Charlotte over the last 38 years. And now, in his own words, Fred Whitfield.
Playing on my first basketball team and my first Little League baseball team, I learned a lot about camaraderie, a lot about teamwork, a lot about what it meant to achieve goals. But the competition was intense, and I had great friends that grew up in the public housing projects. And we all would get together at one of the community centers and have just a great time building a friendship and playing sports. When I was in my early 20s, I realized that a lot of the young people that I grew up with playing sports were dead because of some drug-related activity. And I really wanted to see if there was something that I could do to encourage young people, particularly underserved kids, underprivileged kids, to be able to give them a way to understand that if they dream big, if they stay drug-free, if they make education a priority in their lives, and they take sports seriously, maybe that can open some doors to get them, out of the poverty areas that they grew up in. What I found is so many of them are really smart and brilliant. They just need a chance, and they just need a chance to dream, and they need people behind them to encourage them and push them and help provide the way. To be president of one of 30 NBA teams is just something I couldn't have dreamt of as a kid. But at the end of the day, what I hope I'll be remembered for when I'm, gone, is that I touched a lot of kids' lives in a positive way that wouldn't have been able to do the things that they were able to achieve, but for our basketball school and our staff in the school and the counselors that came in and gave them great advice on how to live their lives in a productive way. That's what I hope my legacy will be about.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the recipient of the 2023 North Carolina Award for Public Service, Fred Whitfield.
Well, Governor, I have my 92-year-old mom here with me, and you really got her attention when you said your mom was the greatest public school teacher in the history of North Carolina. So I have convinced my mom that she's the greatest kindergarten and first grade school teacher in the history of North Carolina. 30 plus years. First, I want to thank you, Governor Cooper, and Secretary Wilson, and the members of the North Carolina Awards Committee, and everyone else responsible for putting on tonight's event. Jennifer, please accept my apologies for being such a pain during this process. I got a lot of family, a lot of friends, and a lot of supporters. I am grateful and humbled to receive this prestigious award, along with such a distinguished group of well-deserving honorees. I am proud to be a native North Carolinian, and although I lived in Washington, D.C. for 5 years, I am grateful to still call North Carolina home. I was born and raised in Greensboro and spent nearly my entire life in Greensboro, or in Bowie's Creek at Campbell University, or in Durham at North Carolina School of Law, Judge Butterfield, legal, and in Charlotte. To be recognized by our state, by our governor, who I am honored to call a friend, is incredibly special to me. There are several people that I want to acknowledge and thank. First, I want to start with my wife, Mary, who's always by my side, good times and also not so good times. There to support me and push me to get through. My mom, my brother, Charles, my sister-in-law, Robin, my niece, Olivia, who all are here tonight, as well as my dad, who passed away 5 years ago, but is here in spirit. He was my hero and who I tried to emulate in life. There is no doubt he's looking down on us tonight and smiling. I can hear him in his calm but powerful voice saying, "Good job so far. You have more work to do, more kids to positively impact, and more people to serve. Keep going." If I could say this to him, I would say, "Trust me, Pops, I will." It is what I saw at home from you and Mom, volunteering at Providence Baptist Church, at Hayes Taylor YMCA, Delta Sigma Theta meetings, and my dad went to those too, and all the other great initiatives in the Greensboro community. Greensboro is a much better place because of all of your work. You two taught Charles and I what it meant to serve others selflessly, and you walk the walk and not just talk the talk. For that, I say a huge thank you. I would not be the person I am without your and Mom's influence and support. I'd also like to thank my other family, close friends, and supporters who have traveled from all over the country to be with Mary and I tonight. Dr. and Mrs. Creed from Campbell University, Dr. Britt Davis and Danielle from Campbell University, and we've got a 3-star general in the house, U.S. Army General Kevin Vereen, who came down from the Pentagon, a Campbell graduate. Thank you so much for representing our beloved Campbell University, which gave me the educational and social skills to be able to do what I do in my career and in the community. I also want to thank Rick Snall, Gabe Plotkin, our new Hornets owners, and the rest of the ownership group. We've got one of those with us tonight. I also want to thank Michael Jordan and Curtis Pope, as well as Bob Johnson, for entrusting me to lead the Bobcats and Hornets Sports and Entertainment for the last 18 years. It's been awesome to have such great teammates there. We strive to be the best in sports and entertainment for the people of Charlotte and North Carolina, but we also look to give back and support the community, whether it's in Charlotte or in Greensboro, where our NBA G League team plays, the Greensboro Swarm, or anywhere else that we can impact. Fortunately, Rick and Gabe, MJ and Curtis, and Bob all understand and feel the indebtedness to our fans and community for their support and our obligation to give back to those less fortunate. That belief and support has allowed us to touch thousands and thousands of underserved people in various ways over the years through our Hornets Social Responsibility Platform and our Charlotte Bobcats and Hornets Foundations. In addition, without the support from them over the years and my teammates at the Hornets, our business would not be moving so positively. I also want to just speak a minute about my personal philanthropic efforts at Achievements Unlimited and Hoopty Charities. There are members of my Hoopty Charities board here tonight, and I want to thank them for being here. Several of them have been with me from day one. Thank you for helping me dream the dream and live it. There's been constant support of our philanthropic efforts through Hoopty and Achievements Unlimited over the years. As the video said, we're going into our 39th summer of Achievements Unlimited Basketball School. Over 15,000 young people have come through our program that not only focuses on fundamental basketball skills, but also the importance of education and staying drug-free. In addition, we're also proud of our 8 Hoopty scholars, 4 at Charlotte Country Day and 4 at Providence Day, a group of young, talented, but underserved young people for whom we're paying full tuition and activity fees in partnership with each school for grades 9 through 12. We will shortly announce a new partnership with Crosland School, which focuses on young people that are challenged with learning disabilities. To fund several underserved young boys and girls there, we're excited that they'll be able to benefit from the unique and successful teaching skills there. We at Hoop T don't just like it. We love doing these type things. And if I'm ever remembered for anything when I'm gone, I hope it will be the legacy of a life committed to serving others and trying to make others' lives better. Thank you also to those whom I serve on the Charlotte Executive Leadership Council, the Charlotte Regional Business Alliance, the Charlotte Sports Foundation, and the Foundation for the Carolinas. Working with other business leaders in the Charlotte region, like Keith Cockrell, president of Bank of America in the Charlotte region, who's also here tonight, we have done everything collectively that we can to make Charlotte the best place it can possibly be while not leaving anyone behind. What an honor to serve on the executive committees of all these great organizations. And there are so many more people that I can't possibly name them all. Last but not least, Governor Cooper, thank you for your dynamic leadership of our state over the past 7 years. Leadership that I am sure was hard and challenging, but you led with dignity and grace. Your leadership made it easy for many of us to get behind and support you in your efforts to repeal House Bill 2, to tirelessly work to get Medicaid for all and have it become a reality for those in need that cannot afford but deserve quality health care across our 100 counties of our state. Also, you, Stephen, Mandy, Ken, your entire team, it's been phenomenal working with you in conjunction with your team and many in the Republican Party, and a majority and a supermajority at times that were opposing to many of your efforts. That said, you did it working across the aisle with Senator Berger, Speaker Moore, and the other leaders in the Republican caucus with the support of Senator Dan Blue, House Minority Leaders Robert Reeves and Darren Jackson. The list goes on. Oh, and selfishly, supporting the efforts of the sports industry of our state to remain competitive with our foes in signing the sports betting bill in our arena that'll benefit us. Governor, I will never forget one thing you said to me about why you believe we have gotten so much achieved in your tenure as governor. You said to me, even though you may philosophically differ in opinion on a lot of things with others in the other party, as long as there's mutual respect and the willingness to talk and try to get some common ground for the better of the masses, you can sit down together and effectuate real positive change and impact that changes people's lives in a big way. That is exactly what you and those I mentioned above have done to make North Carolina so much better over the last 7 years for all. I believe that if God gave us one thing in common, it is the ability to work with other people, regardless of who they are, how they look, where they come from, or how they think, to work hard on the behalf of others. I so hope that the reason I was chosen to receive this award, this unbelievable award, is because of that type work. With all of that, Governor, that is still not enough for me to ever consider running for public office. My sister-in-law, Leilani, jokingly asked me yesterday, had I ever thought about running for public office? And I said, Leilani, with everything I've learned over the years in Raleigh, unofficially lobbying for a number of initiatives, and watching how things work up close and personal, I would not run for high school class president again at Southeast Guilford High School. But Governor Cooper and team, job well done. Thank you again to all of those who supported my fellow honorees and I in being named to the class of 2023 North Carolina Award. I will speak for all of us and say we're humbled beyond belief to be recognized by our state in this way. Have a great rest of it.
Our final award recipient has dedicated his life to public service, education, and diplomacy. After obtaining a bachelor's degree in American history and mathematics from the University of North Carolina and a Bachelor of Divinity degree and doctorate in political science from Yale University, he served as an assistant professor at Yale and then as a professor of political science and public policy at Duke University. His interest in politics took him to Congress in 1987, where he's represented North Carolina's 4th District in the U.S. House of Representatives from 1987 to 94, and again from 1997 to 2022. Throughout his tenure, his constituents benefited from his strong support of education, accessible health care, clean energy, and affordable housing. Throughout his congressional career, he achieved legislative milestones that left a lasting impression. Notable accomplishments include the Home Equity Loan Consumer Protection Act in 1988, ensuring full disclosure of loan terms. His commitment to education was demonstrated by the Education Affordability Act, making student loan interest tax deductible, and the Teaching Fellows Act, which provided funding for prospective public school teachers. A trained political scientist, he literally wrote the book on the United States Congress called The Congressional Experience, now in its 4th edition. And from my personal experience, if you would ever ask this guy about a bill in Congress, he would know everything about it. And now, in his own words, David Price.
Well, I grew up in a perfectly nice, nurturing town in East Tennessee. But when I went off to college, and especially when I landed in Chapel Hill in 1959, there was something going on. Namely, the civil rights movement, a challenge to this country's received ideals. It also gave me a lasting conviction that politics and government were absolutely essential to the kind of social change this country needed. But there was a special sense of our responsibilities as a region, and there was a special sense about the Triangle. I thought of this as the New South, as a part of the South that was more progressive and more open and more inclusive, that had more promise, just a dynamic place with all kinds of people, all kinds of ideas, and a lot of people fighting for good causes, fighting for affordable housing, fighting for civil rights. I was honored to be elected to represent my community in the United States House of Representatives, a dream come true that I would really have never thought possible. The state has been very good to me, and I hope that I have reflected well on the state and its values and its people and what we stand for. So North Carolina has meant to me a kind of opening up of opportunity and possibility. That is a never-ending quest. Democracy is never achieved, and it is a never-ending quest, but one that I think is in line with the spirit of North Carolina as I've experienced it.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the recipient of the 2023 North Carolina Award for Public Service, the Honorable David E. Price.
Well, good evening, and thank you very, very much. It's a privilege and a pleasure to join you here tonight and to receive this recognition. The 59th NC Awards ceremony, where 250 North Carolinians have been recognized for service in the state, for the state. Very fine company indeed, including my fellow honorees tonight. I've attended these ceremonies often before, I've often nominated people for this award before, but to receive this award myself fills my heart and makes me very grateful. Grateful to the governor, the secretary, my nominators, the selection committee, of course, but also grateful to the constituents, the colleagues, the staff, the supportive friends who have made my service possible. You've also tonight provided an occasion for a family reunion of sorts, so I'm happy to have with me here my daughter Karen and her husband Justin, my sister Mary Ann, her son Stephen, and son Michael and wife Jade with us in spirit. When I came over the mountains to attend Mars Hill College and then the University of North Carolina, and then when I returned to accept a teaching job from my friend Joel Fleischman here at Duke University in the public policy program and in political science, when I ventured into North Carolina in these ways, I could not have imagined that I would be standing here tonight. Now, I won't say I didn't have some political pipe dreams occasionally about running for office someday, but in 1973, there was little reason to expect that I would be representing this area in Congress within 14 years. Those early formative years in Chapel Hill, framed as they were by the civil rights movement, guaranteed that I would never be one to take cheap shots at government. I came to understand that how essential politics and government were to righting ancient wrongs and to building the kind of just and inclusive community that we aspire to. But to myself become a player in that drama in the U.S. House of Representatives was a dream and an honor of a lifetime. I appreciate the recognition tonight of what I've been able to achieve, of course. But addressing the needs and aspirations of our fellow North Carolinians and the larger task of protecting and perfecting our democracy remain works in progress, and the uncertainties and the perils are very real. We've marked a point in the journey here tonight, and let us resolve to continue this journey with determination and dedication together. Thank you.
So thank you all for being here tonight. It has been such a special night. Let's give all of our recipients one more hand. And some of them have had to leave, but I would like everybody who works in the governor's office or in our cabinets, work for our cabinets, to please stand right now if you can, and let's give all of them a hand. Led by Christy Jones, our Chief of Staff, the best team ever. As Secretary Wilson mentioned, I have a mission for North Carolina. I want a state where people are better educated, where they're healthier, where they have more money in their pockets so they can live lives of purpose and abundance. And each one of these North Carolina Award recipients exemplifies this mission through their work and service to our state. Thanks to our committee members, Nina Schlossberg-Landis, thank you for this, James Ferguson, Pat Malden, Joy Cohen-Shavitz, and Ashley Leffler-Wilson. You guys worked hard, and I know you had a lot of nominations because we have amazing people all over our state. But I think you guys did a great job, and let's give them one more hand. Now I'm going to ask our award winners to join me back on stage one more time for one picture. So guys, come on. Let's congratulate them one more time with a round of applause. Thanks everybody for joining us tonight and honoring these remarkable North Carolinians. See you next year.